Hey everybody, it's Dave here from Dragonhill Games, and you're watching This Week in MTG Finance. As always, and before we get started, I want to thank MTG Stocks for allowing us to use graphical information for the purposes of this video. As has been the story over the course of the last couple of weeks, we're just going to keep trucking along with the reserve list buyouts. That said, there's a couple of cards on our list this week that are on the move due to cards we recently got from Kaldheim. So let's dive right into our top 10 list, and we're going to start right here in the number 10 spot with Glamour Die. Glamour Die is on the move this week, up over 350% to $5.45. This is a rare from Eventide that states for 1 blue and 1 at instant speed, we can change the text of target spell or permanent by replacing all instances of one color word with another. And the important thing here with Glamour Die is it has retrace, so you can basically just keep casting this as long as you have lands available in your hand to pitch to your graveyard. Of course, this is on the move because of a brand new commander prospect we got from Kaldheim, and that would be Orvar the Allform. Orvar states that whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, if it targets one or more permanents you control, you can make a token copy of one of those permanents. So Glamour Die is a natural fit for that deck, especially with the ability to retrace it. Coming in at number 9 this week and up 391%, we have Tharntome from Weatherlight at $8.50. I'm surprised that this card hasn't moved sooner than now. It is on the reserve list, and this card actually slots into quite a few decks. For 4 mana, we're getting an artifact that states you can pay 5 and tap it to reveal the top 3 cards of your library to an opponent. That opponent chooses one of those cards, it goes into your graveyard, and you draw the remaining 2. There's quite a few decks that this would slot really well into, especially cards that can make use of their graveyard. In the number 8 spot this week, we have another reserve list rare from Urza's Saga, and that would be our Argothian Worm. At $13, this thing is up another 502% this week. Geez, just last week, this card was about $1.50 or so. So this is a pretty big increase for a card that's not really that fantastic. Essentially, for 4 mana, we're getting a 6/6 Trampler. Now, when it comes into play, any player may sacrifice a land to have you put it back on top of your library. Otherwise, we basically just have a 6/6 Trampler for 4. Nothing too special, but I'm sure this will make its way into quite a few casual decks. Now, our number 7 winner this week is also up 502% to $10. Sarah Aviary is another reserve list rare from Homelands. Pretty simple card on the surface. For 1 white and 3, we're getting an enchantment that states all creatures with flying get +1/+1. Now keep in mind we have favorable winds in blue, and yes, I know this is in blue, so it doesn't slot into every deck that Sarah Aviary would, but for just half of the mana, we're getting an enchantment that only affects creatures we control. Goblin King from Revised in the number 6 spot this week is up 545% to $30 even. Now keep in mind about this card, it has been printed a ton. It's appeared in a lot of different core sets, and likely will continue to do so in the future. But revised edition copies of cards have been heavily targeted in recent weeks and months. At $15.84, our number 5 winner this week is up 696%. Anaba Spirit Crafter from Homelands is also another reserve list rare. 4 mana is pretty expensive to get half a Lord. He only gives +1 on the power side, and he's pretty weak overall at just 1/3. But if you're building a casual Minotaur commander deck, there's no reason why you wouldn't want to have an Anaba Spirit Crafter in there. Continuing right along with the 94 to 97 era reserve list buyouts, our number 4 winner is up a whopping 789% this week to $40. Not a particularly great card, although it does make its way into some casual EDH Dragon themed decks. Sitting comfortably in the number 3 spot and up 946% this week to $27.62, we have Shroud Poacher from Nemesis. Keep in mind this is not on the reserve list, but it hasn't had any other printings either, so supplies on this card are pretty scarce. For 4 mana, we're getting a repeatable tutor that states pay 3, tap, and search your library for an elf card. Put that card directly into play, and then shuffle your library. Pretty good deal for an elf tribal deck. Our number 2 winner is up an astounding 2,405% to $125 for a non-reserve list uncommon from Legends. It's kind of ridiculous that Heaven's Gate is actually in this situation, but I did a bunch of poking around and Card Kingdom is completely out of stock. And over on eBay, you're going to pay well over $100 for a played version of Heaven's Gate. So it is what it is, folks. Like I said, keep in mind that this is not on the reserve list. It's an uncommon, so there's quite a few more of them out there than people might think. And I'm sure a lot of these are going to get dug out of old collections and posted in the very near future, considering its massive, massive price increase. For 1 mana at instant speed, Heaven's Gate allows us to change the color of 1 or more target creatures to white until end of turn. I'm not really sure what deck this slots into, because it definitely doesn't fit into Orvar the Allform. And our big winner this week, up 2,564%, is good old Ivory Tower, the original Antiquities printing at 500. Now, of course, this is not a reserve list card. It's actually been printed quite a bit, but not recently. And in fact, the last printing was the From the Vaults version. Ivory Tower actually goes into a lot of decks, especially commander decks where life gain matters. For just 1 mana, we're getting an artifact, and during our upkeep, we gain 1 life for each card in our hand above 4. I really do love the look and styling of these original old Antiquities printings. Alright, before I get into cards I'm investing in this week, as always, if you're a subscriber, you know I want to thank you for being here. I really appreciate your continued support. And if not, now's a great time to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Alright, let's kick things off with our value pick for the week. And for this, I've chosen Teferi Time Raveler from War of the Spark. At around $10, this is a phenomenal deal. In fact, it's pretty much an all-time low for baby Teferi. Of course, he makes his way into a lot of modern, vintage, legacy, and commander decks. And he's an auto-include for any control type strategy. Think about this. If we had an enchantment that cost just 3 mana, when it entered the battlefield, you could return an artifact, creature, or an enchantment an opponent controls to their hand, and draw a card, and then as long as it's sat there, each opponent could only cast spells at sorcery speed. What would something like that be worth? I recently went ahead and purchased a pile of Sea King's Blessings to hold. At $2.40, we're a little off of recent all-time highs of $3.50. But that said, this is an uncommon that's never had a reprint from the original Legends set, and we recently seen cards like Heaven's Gate, which have a similar effect in white, have massive, massive increases. With the contradiction being here that Sea King's Blessing is actually playable in Orvar the Allform. And last but not least, our speculation play for this week is Kolvori, God of Kinship. You can pick this thing up for the bargain basement price of 75 cents for the showcase version. This is a card that, like wine, it naturally gets better with age. For 4 mana, we're getting a 2/4, and on the surface, not that great. As long as you control 3 or more legendary creatures, it gets +4/+2 and has vigilance. So it does increase in power as the game goes on. But more importantly, for 1 green and 1, we can tap it and look at the top 6 cards of our library and reveal a legendary creature from among them, put it into our hand, and put the rest on the bottom of our library in a random order. Now, as I was saying, as time goes on, this card definitely increases in value. As we get more and more playable legendaries, there's no reason why mono green isn't going to want this for every EDH deck down the road. Before I close things out for this week, I did want to touch on Varragoth Bloodsky Sire. A lot of people have messaged me about this card, asking me what I think about it. I think for $3.25, it's a great pickup if you need one for your personal collection. I feel like this card probably drops a little bit more from here. It's been on a downward trend, although it does seem to be kind of leveling out a little bit. I don't believe that Kaldheim is getting opened all that much in comparison to previous sets, so there's probably going to be a lot less kind of quantity of Varragoth out there than there might have been for something obviously like War of the Spark of Dominaria, something along those lines. So that definitely boasts well for the future for the price of this card. It's a really good card on the surface. For 1 black and 2, we're getting a legendary Demon Rogue, and both those things matter. It has Death Touch, so it sort of has natural evasion. It's a 2/3. And of course, it has Boast for 1 black and 1. Target player searches their library for a card, then shuffles their library and puts that card on top of it. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do to either punish your opponents with Varragoth, or actually basically Vampiric Tutor yourself. So it does seem like a really good card. I think it's going to take some time to see how well this actually plays out in EDH. So I don't have a really kind of big recommendation on this card right now, but overall I think it's a really good card, and if you need one for your personal collection, there's absolutely nothing wrong with paying $3.25 for it. All right, I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode of This Week in MTG Finance. If you did, go ahead and smash that like button. You know it really helps me out, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.